Swedish, yeah, you're funny. What game is this? I want a tour, please. Show me your dwelling, you space troll. Space troll. Alright, let's give a grand tour. We'll start at the main. This room. Alright. Let me just put my tools away. Just because. Alright. Let me... Alright, here we go. Alright, so this is our battery room. We have 20 station batteries all tied together that feed into this room. This is the total output of the solar panels. This is the total draw. So that means that if these numbers are the same, as you know, the base is taking all the power that the solar panels can provide because it needs to charge all these batteries. Right now, the time is 11 a.m. I know that because it's green and it's an 11, because I have a clock circuit up top that does that. Total battery power is at 95%. The base is pulling 7.8 kilowatts total. Once these are all charged, that display will match that display, meaning that the solar panels are providing the base with the full power and not the batteries. Over here we have the battery room analyzer that feeds off of the main solar array, showing that the potential is 69 megawatts and that the actual, which is what that is what the base is drawing. Over here, I don't use APCs at all. I prefer to use transformers. So this top transformer feeds the gas filtration area. This transformer feeds the battery room and solar panel array up top above ground because we're underground right now. The bottom transformer is the crafting 3D printer room. This one is the furnace room. This one is right now is what I'm wiring up to the observation beacon tower. So that's what I'm running wire from right now, is that middle transformer. You leave the battery room, got some battery chargers on the wall, got a nuclear battery there, and I have one in my suit, so we just have the two that I keep swapping. Another bank of battery chargers. We get a power switch that turns the lights on and off in the 3D printer room. As the door says, printer room. This door says control room. So we'll turn lights back on. In here is all your standard 3D printers. The electro print has a stacker so that I primarily do cables that stack here. This one has a stacker because I primarily do chutes and pipes because I don't want them just all over the place. Everything else I print from the fabricator. Now I have logic, I'm sure everybody's seen. Turn the computer off, fabricator turns off automatically. See, there's a couple chips here under the floor. Toolmaker, pretty much paint cans, and this one all I use it for is steel sheets and steel frames because it just makes them faster. Then I got storage along the walls. Fabricator dumps off into its little area. Over here we have the recycler that goes into chutes. I also have a manual feed for the centrifuge. Just in case I have something that I can't put directly through here, I can put in here and it goes in here and spits out. When the raw ore is spit out, I can feed it into this bin, which then feeds downstairs into our furnace room. We'll see that in a second. This is a feed from the furnace room, so when the furnace room smelts the ore, it'll send it back up here, drop it out, and then I can dump it into the fabricator or any of the other 3D printers or even into the storage closets. So that is the manufacturing room. A couple extra tanks I made, which are pointless because you can't recycle them, so they just sit there. So we will turn the lights off. Conserve power. We've turned everything else off. Downstairs is the filtration gas storage area. As you probably saw on Sumo's base, because I built it over there as well, is the automatic tank fill system. Take any empty tank, throw it in the canister, and it will automatically fill to 6K. Don't need to turn any pressure regulators on or anything because those are all automatic. It detects a canister with gas and fills it up to 6K. But we're not going to fill that up all the way because I don't really need that to be full. Our filtration units, all with double filters for the different. I don't know if single or double makes a difference. I just put 2 of each in every single one just for whatever. Then we have pressure and temperature. If you notice, the temperature is pretty much equalized across the board. 13 degrees-ish, 12, 10. It depends on the gas. Each gas has a different temperature, how the temperature affects it. And that's all being controlled by this. So it's about 16 degrees with 13 pressure in this chamber and this chamber for those tanks. So I have air that will get sucked in here, fed across. There's a vent over here, which you can just see it right there. And then over there is another passive that pulls the air and feeds it back on this side. So it's a continual cycle through all 4 tanks, or actually not 4, 7 tanks, right? You got 4 over there, 3 over here, 7. Because this last tank is a hydrogen-oxygen mix. So I keep that stored up so I can use this tank for mixed gas for fuel or whatever. This is our purge canister. Anything we put in here will just go back into the system and get separated again as needed. This analyzer analyzes what's in the pipe that comes from our furnace room. In here, I can put ore in any of the 6 furnaces. Come back out here, close the door, and it will actually read out how much ore. Do I have any ore anywhere? I'm trying to think. I probably don't. Can I put venue? Do I have any raw ore anywhere? No, I've pretty much smelted everything. Now let's go get some ore real quick. Can't have a tour without demonstrating my fully automatic whatever system. Let's go, well, before we leave the base, let's actually turn on the beacon. So it is 7 in yellow, which means it's nighttime, so that's 7 p.m. No, 7 a.m. Oh wow, isn't that convenient? That's funny. We don't even need to mine. The game said, here, have some ore. Already mined for you, just sitting out in the terrain. Alright, we'll go back downstairs. All the way downstairs. In this room, guess what it says? Storage room. Oh, wow. Alright, we need to reopen the blast doors. Alright, so we will put the 5 ore in there. Then we'll come back out here, close the doors. And the one furnace has 5 ore in it. So let's say we had ore in all of these and had a bunch of production stuff we needed to do. Oh, the dumbwaiter up there where you put in the raw ore actually dumps out here. So you can pick it up, bring it in the room, do whatever you want, and bring it back out. So if we turn this on, it smelts the ore. Even though there's only 5 in there, so it should take real quick. So it's empty. Now, those 5 ore probably didn't produce much of anything in the room for pressure, but it did capture 20% carbon dioxide and 80% pollutants from what it just smelted. So those numbers will slowly go up as it is actually pulling all the gases out of that room, even though this pressure says 0 because 5 ore really doesn't do anything. So we'll turn off that, reopen the doors over here. As long as all these are 0, that means there's nothing left in the room because it's already pulled it all in. We have 16 kPa of gases that we collected from smelting 5 iron ore. All right. As you can see, the number's stabilized. Then if we turn on the filtration systems, basically sucked it out that quick because there was nothing really in there. And it will just dump it into the respective, over here you got pollutants, carbon dioxide. So those numbers went up slightly, but we didn't see it because there was such a trace amount. Then we turn this room back off, which that right there turns on the 6 systems as well as this vent. It just sucks out any gases might be in this room for whatever reason, and then does all that. The furnace, I can smelt stuff in there, and then it goes through here and ends up back upstairs. So that 5 iron that we just smelted will end up here. And there it is. And I just throw it in the fabricator. So it's all automated. You know if those windows can hold water. I saw a streamer actually, I was watching a stream, they were actually trying to use heated water. And yeah, water will stay up in there. I mean, I don't know how you'd get it up in there, but it will hold the water. But they had, all their tanks were halfway submerged in water. And they were running the water through a pipe system, heating the water up, pumping it back into the room. I don't know how effective it was. They were still trying to perfect the system and keeping the water temperature stabilized. I find just using warm air, because as long as you have a pressure over 6, the heaters will work. And I have logic that's here under the floor. You can see it here, and it maintains the temperature in the room right around 15 degrees of ambient air that circulate. Usually you can see the little lines of air flowing through here, but for some reason it's not right now. I don't know if that changed or what that did. So that's the automatic furnace gas collection room, as well as the filtration room. So if we go upstairs, because we have gone through this room, that room, up here, and then up here is our solar array. We have 42 solar panels, all on solar tracking. Our backup generator, should we ever actually need it, but I've never needed it. This little pod sticking up, all 3 panels behind these walls, is all logic for the solar tracking. All of this logic you can see underneath the panels here. I mean, there's a lot of it. All of that controls this clock. Basically, I read off of the solar array, and actually we have the formula, which is going to pop up on your screen shortly. Basically what we do is we take the hard part about this clock is that the sun, when it rises, will be at 0. It goes through the cycle of daylight to 180 on sunset. Then it counts from 180 backwards in the dark back to 0. So it's not 0 to 180, 180 to 360. If they did that, it would be easy to build a clock. But no, they count 0 to 180, 180 to 0. So the nighttime is backwards and the daytime is forwards. So how do you build a clock to compensate? Well, we had some streamers or some viewers one night when I was working on this. We kind of figured out the formula, but for daytime, it's just basically solar angle divided by 15 plus 6. The plus 6 is because at sunrise, the solar angle is 0, and that I want that to be 6 a.m. So I add 6 hours to 0, gives me my 6, obviously. When it's dead center above you, it's 12 noon, and sunset is 6 p.m. Now, the trick, or what we found out to get the nighttime to work, is it's the same thing, solar angle divided by 15, then you subtract 18. That offsets how it counts backwards, because you know negative numbers count, when they count backwards, they're actually counting lower, or I don't know, it's whatever. And then you multiply it by -1 to inverse the negative result back to a positive, and that gives you nighttime hours. And then we take that number, and if the because it actually counts above 12. Oh, excuse me, because 12 noon is 12, and then you get 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, which is 6 p.m. sunset. So I actually have logic that says if the number is higher than 12, minus 12. So this is always a 12-hour clock. There's also logic that says if the sun is up, make this number green. If the sun is down, make it yellow. So I can just glance at it. Out here, it's easy. I can tell, oh, it's dark. Okay, I don't need it. But I have a second clock that runs off that same exact logic down here. So it's a little tiny clock. So it tells me it's 5 a.m. No, I don't want you error on my screen. So it was funny the first time I added that second clock. I was like, wait a minute. Batch writers will only write to one device. Or not batch writers, but a logic writer will only write to one device. A batch writer will write to multiple devices, but yeah, it's pitch black out. Is it daytime? When you're outside, it's more or less to look at this to see how long before sunrise, which it's 5 a.m. It'll go 6 a.m. because the sun's about to rise over here. And then the number will turn green. But that's just more or less so you can see, when is sunrise. Because when the sun's up, you can tell where it's at, obviously. So it's 6. The sun will start creeping up. You'll start seeing the sunlight and shadows, and that number will actually turn green. So that's actually kind of cool the way that does that. But the display downstairs, I was like, okay, I could use it. See, it just went green. And the funny thing is it flicks -6 momentarily because the logic was still on the night cycle. Now it's actually on the day cycle because there's actually 2 sets of logic circuits. One set of logic is used if it's daylight, which means that this sunlight is at yes. And when it's at no, it uses a whole nother set of logic that's over on this side of the walkway area. So yeah, it's like 2 different logic circuits to give me that clock. And then there's logic chips to change the color and everything else. Actually, that should be green. Why is it yellow? That's bizarre. Huh. Okay, there it went. It updated. That was weird. That was just a glitch in the matrix. Yeah, that took me a couple of streams to get all that finalized and working properly. Actually, I've never had anybody on here. I mean, everything I built was by me. So we have the greenhouse. Obviously, it's painted green. And then we have the pressure and temperature that are climate controlled and pressure controlled in the room. I'm not growing any plants right now because I had so many because this greenhouse works so well. And, I got 16 wheat and 16 corn, but down in my habitat room, I got a whole bunch more wheat, corn, a whole bunch of pills and cereal bars. I have the same displays replicated over here, so if I'm down here I can see them if I'm down there, but if I'm up here I can see them. It tells me I got 0% oxygen and 100% carbon dioxide in the room, so I can monitor that. If this gets up too high, then I turn on this filtration system, which will filter out the oxygen, store it, and then pump the CO2 back into the system. So I cycle out the CO2 because when you got plants growing, it makes a lot of CO2 quick. I found that out and I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much CO2 the plants make. I have a manual airlock system. In other words, if this door is open, it locks this door. I can't open this door. So I actually have to close it. And the reason I do this is because the room is only pressurized to, what is it, like 27, 28 kPa. You can't do a traditional airlock because it wants to go to 100. And if I went to 100 in that little room and opened this up, all that gas would come into this room and try to equalize, and it's just a mess, which you obviously know that. I have heaters, air circulators, heaters on the wall. Here's the AC units. They'll pull it in, They'll pump it up through that pipe with the radiators. If that works or doesn't, I don't know. But hey, my temperature stays constant in this room about 33 degrees, even with all the plants growing. At one point, I had all of these full of plants, except soybeans because they didn't grow, but they fixed that so they would actually grow now. But I got one row for each plant. That was my game plan. So I'd have, wheat, corn, fern. I don't know what fern is good for. And then soybean. If they don't add any more plant. Well, actually, I have a potato, but I haven't seen potato. But then again, this save is prior to them adding it, so I don't know how you get them. No potatoes. I don't know how you get them, where you get them. I guess if I start a whole new save, I might get a couple. But the only things I have is, fern, soybean, corn, and wheat. So that's the greenhouse. Yeah, I'm going to have to restart to get potatoes. But this save was started on the stable branch, or the stable build. And then I decided to switch to beta, and the save, and just keep going with the same save. Alright, down here, or through here, these monitor the pressure and temperature within the, what I call my habitat or my living quarters. It's the only actual pressurized room in the entire base. Well, other than the greenhouse. It's the only pressurized breathable. How about that? But this will actually pressurize up to 100. It'll open the doors. Standard airlock system. Down here I have the cryo tube that doesn't do anything, but it's got cool animation, so I put it in here. Heaters on the wall. ACs on the wall to keep the temperature in here. I got chairs to sit in. You can actually sit in your chair and be all cool. Over here, my microwave and the reagent processor for making the, like I said, I was plenty of, I got 22 wheat and 24 corn. Made a bunch of medical pills. This thing was all full with cereal bars until they added the ability to turn off hunger, which I've done. I don't want to deal with hunger right now. In here is all just a bunch of tablets, extra uniforms. I have an extra set of uniforms because I died once. I actually was streaming. I went to host someone else, so I went over to the host, did the command, hosted them, because I alt-tapped out of the game. Didn't realize I was still in the game, and went and did whatever I was going to do. I think I had to head to work. So I logged out in the game. When I came back, my dude was dead, and the equipment was all laying on the ground because he turned into a skeleton and all that other stuff. Chemistry thing, the sleeper, it's even got, if I can get to the back, it's even got, gas fed into it. Got the intake, or no, that's the intake, that's the exhaust. It'll suck out. If the CO2 gets too high in this room, I can, purge that from the system. So I keep nice breathable oxygen. There's a 30-70 mix, nitrogen to oxygen in this room. So, if I took my helmet off. Why is there skull and crossbones? Do I have... What's in this? Is this the Atmo? No, that's network analyzer. Oops, gotta turn that off. Are you Atmo? No, you're Atmo. Oh, 2% hydrogen. Huh. I must have turned on my jetpack by mistake in here or something. Because that's the only way hydrogen would get in this room. Oh, heater's kicked on. Toxins detected, yeah. Come on, get up the steps. These are just the cable analyzers for the greenhouse and the habitat on how much power they're drawing. I don't know why I put them in here, inside the airlock, but that's just where they ended up. I don't know if there's hydrogen in a jetpack or what. I don't know what I put in there. But I don't know how it got hydrogen in that room. That's really bizarre. Okay, so it's 3. Which is wrong. Where's the sun at? Yeah, it's 3 p.m. Okay, yeah, that's right. 3 p.m., 3 in the afternoon. I have a dumbwaiter here, so if you're out mining, come back. You can dump the ore in here, and it will end up in that little area down outside of the furnace room, so you don't have to run downstairs to unload. You can go out mining, come back, unload. Go out mining, come back, unload. So I've added that. Now the tunnel access is all the behind the scenes. Here's the 2 filtration systems for the habitat room. Piping, 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 more spaghetti, more piping, more cables, more this, more that. I haven't color coded all of those piping up there because there's just so much. I just didn't want to deal with it. But here they are. You know, water, carbon dioxide is the. I added pipes here. I just haven't painted them yet. With carbon dioxide, I use this khaki, and then this is oxygen nitrogen mix. So it's the checkerboard. I maintain, you know, my pressure to my hydroponic trays, carbon dioxide to the greenhouse, and then the pressure to the habitat. The main maintenance tunnel that all those pipes feed through. Come back into the main. This is the back side of the tank fillers with the pressure regulators that automatically turn on and pressurize. Basically, it pressurizes from this point forward with, you know, 6 m or 6,000 kPa. So when you put a tank in there, this pipe's already got 6,000 pressurized, so it'll almost instantly fill the tank to about 5K. So you only have to wait that last 1,000 for it to finish off that tank. More piping. Go down this way. This goes to the back side of the furnace room. Or not furnace room, the where the 3D printers and stuff are, and that's the dumb waiter from way upstairs. Outside, that's the other passageways. We got power chutes. This is the back side of the see, there's the dumbwaiter and the return for ore, when ore will come back and spit out in that little room. All the chute system. This is the mixer for the habitat. So it takes oxygen, nitrogen, mixes it at a, actually it's 50-50 mix, and then it spits it and goes through this pipe and ends up way over there at the habitat. Got more chute systems, more power, more chutes. This is the back side of the all the arc furnaces. This is the back side of the furnace. I haven't tied in to actually use gas for the furnace. That's going to be a future system to where I can regulate pressures and temperature to smelt. But right now I just use ice, but I don't have to smelt that much solder stuff anymore. I did a bunch of that already and stored it. This is all the logic that for the displays of to read, for those displays that read how much ore is in each arc furnace. I mean, really all it is a reader and writer. It just reads the import quantity and then writes it out. I mean, it's very simple logic. The piping, more piping, carbon dioxide, water, and then the chlorine or pollutants, and then the backside of their fill tanks, the water and carbon dioxide that feed over and end up down at the greenhouse. I have access to the bottom side of the battery array, so if I need to come over here and turn off a battery or do anything. This is the main feed from the solar panels, so that the displays up top can read, you know, their respective data on those displays up there. And then we got more maintenance tunnels that just circle back around, back to where we started. I had this big open area. I don't know what I could do with it, but I haven't made any decisions. And then there is the other tunnel access that ends up back in the filtration arc room area. But that's basically it. That's everything. I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, I'm waiting for them to add more stuff to the game. They have the gas generator, but I mean, I could build it, install it, and get it working, but I'd probably never use it because I've never had to use the coal backup generator. These 42 panels and the 20 batteries supply me with well